Chiefs Kingdom, welcome into the AP Film Room on the Arrowhead Pride YouTube channel. Appreciate you watching. Appreciate you joining us. As you know, we like to break down the Chiefs film here on the channel. You know, that's what we do. We're film nerds here. I'm Ron Kopp Jr., the lead analyst at the arrowheadpride.com site. Nate Christensen, Caleb James with me, two great writers for us. We've all gotten our film reviews out. You know, I'm sure our boss is happy with our timing this week. On the holiday weekend, we've all gotten our film reviews out, so we're here to talk about them. But first, Caleb, I'll start with you. I don't know. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Just how are you feeling about the Chiefs as we kind of turn the calendar with 2 games to go until the postseason?
Well, I think after this game against Seattle, we saw them play a game that they needed to play, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I know Nate and I are going to touch on that, but it was kind of like a nice little Christmas present and maybe even like a preview of what we might see in the playoffs. So that was incredibly encouraging from that perspective.
Oh, it was. It absolutely was. You know, definitely a game that we needed to see, as you mentioned. Nate, you did look at the defense. You'll be breaking it down for us in a sec. But I don't know, optimism levels about, you know, I know we've had our varying levels of pessimism, optimism on this show. I don't know, did the bar get raised at all for you after this game?
Yeah, on defense, I think especially that, and we'll kind of touch on it, but it was the best game plan of the season from this defense overall. They seemed like they had a good kind of read on tendencies and things like that. I thought they defended everything Seattle did on early downs well. They were 2 for 14 on third down. It was one of Geno Smith's worst games overall. Overall, they were changing their like looks post snap. They were changing their coverages. Like it was a game that was very encouraging defensively. And what was also encouraging is that they only had maybe like one coverage bust, and it was when they were up like 21 points. So it was like they were locked in what they were doing while also doing a bunch of different things, which is very encouraging going into the playoffs when you're going to have to make adjustments on the fly.
Right. No, you mentioned the Geno Smith thing. I mean, he's played some tough defenses this year and has done something. I mean, he's been good this year. He went to the Pro Bowl for a reason. As much as the Pro Bowl voting, it seems to be a joke. You know, hey, Geno deserved it this year. He deserved that rep. But Nate, I'm just going to go ahead and toss it to you now. Go ahead and keep the ball rolling. We're talking defense. We're talking about one of their best games of the season. What did you see from the game?
Yeah, I thought overall this was their best kind of game overall on defense. I thought they blended everything in together well, which is something I kind of wrote about this week. And kind of like the headline point from the defense is like 2 for 14 on third down, which they deserve a ton of credit for. They were awesome on third and fourth down this week. But you don't get into that if you aren't very good on early downs. And to me, like watching it from an outsider's view, I thought that was where they were most impressive. Stopping the run this week, they were very impressive. On 12 first down carries, I am including a holding here. They gave up a total of 38 yards, which is very good. I mean, Kenneth Walker was back. They have, a decent offensive line. They ran the ball well this year. But overall, I just thought the front played very well all game long. I thought Derek Nottie played easily his best game of the season. I thought Danny Shelton and Brandon Williams both played well stepping in. I am going to highlight one cool run defending play that I thought was a good moment in this game. This is later in the third quarter. The Seahawks are kind of going to run this like toss outside zone to the sideline. And this is just a well-defended run play overall. The Chiefs have good kind of backside support from Brandon Williams, Willie Gay. So Kenneth Walker can't really hit this cutback lane at all. And they also do a good job on the front side. Nick Bolton reads it instantly and gets in good position on the sideline. Trent McDuffie on block comes down here, tackles him in space. This is a negative 5-yard gain. Leo Chanel, he gets kind of sealed at first, but he's able to kind of swim back outside and get to the sideline to kind of not let Walker cut back. So I thought this is a great run fit, and they fit outside zone really pretty well all day. They had a couple bad reps when they were up a bunch of points, but regardless of what Seattle was doing, I thought they fit the run tremendously. I've been really not super, like the stats look good for the Chiefs run defense, but I think overall it hasn't been great. But this was easily their best week. They were in sync with everything, like linebackers, defensive tackles. They all played great.
Yeah, no, that's a good look. I did notice some reps where they were, and I noticed in 2019 they did this too, where they have Noddy and then another kind of nose tackle type in with him. Brandon Williams, I think, was in. Did you notice that? And is that kind of a wrinkle that you think they kind of maybe, hey, save for the playoffs, or it's just,
Mhm.
hey, is it part of a personnel thing? Like we didn't have two guys to even
Right.
trust on the field that can run stuff like that. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's the second point. Now that you have Brandon
Yeah.
Williams, I believe this was Danny Shelton's first active game, if I'm
Yeah, I
right.
think so.
So now that you can put those guys on the field, you could criticize whether the Chiefs should have put Danny Shelton on the field earlier in the year. Regardless, it's something they figured out. And I mean, I thought Chris Jones played well against the run too. But, we kind of talked about last week how Chris Jones is kind of playing too many snaps overall. Well, when you could put two nose tackles on the field, that helps. You can get now Chris Jones to third down. I don't personally want Chris Jones playing 81% of snaps or wherever he was at. So when you can stop the run with two nose tackles, that gets him in better opportunities.
Yeah, and even real quick before you go on, you can have those two nose tackles in and still be in nickel personnel, right? So you're still not necessarily just in complete run stop mode. You're not in the best pass rush situation, right? But you still have ample guys in coverage too, while also being good against the run. I like that little mix up that they do. I like that they're able to do that now.
Yeah, and another thing that I thought was great this week, the Chiefs defended the middle of the field perfectly. Geno Smith had two overall attempts between past 10 yards and in between the numbers all day. And it was only one completion. And if you watch Seattle this year, that is where they've thrived. Geno leads the league in completion percentage. And if you look at a lot of his throwing charts week by week, they dominate in the middle of the field. But the Chiefs completely shut that down. Sometimes it was based off a coverage they were playing. I just want to highlight this cool play in the red zone. Let's watch Willie Gay here in the middle of the field. This is right before halftime. And this tight end up top is kind of just going to run a slant inside. He gets pretty good positioning on the corner, but we'll see Willie Gay gets his hand up in the air, and this should have been deflected down. He does. He kind of interferes with it a little bit, but you kind of see he understands kind of where it is in the middle of the field. I'll kind of run through these other clips, but just real quick, you can kind of see Nick Bolton, once he kind of sees that half rollout, instantly turned, robbed the middle of the field. So overall, I thought, I've been critical of the linebackers in coverage this year. Both Nick Bolton and Willie Gay were very good in coverage this week. Here's Willie Gay on an option route versus Noah Fant, just stopping him on a key third down. So overall, I thought what the linebackers did in the middle of the field this week was great. They only had one bad rep in the middle of the field all day. And I thought that really suffocated what Seattle did offensively.
Yeah, I actually had Willie Gay as my defensive player of the game. I think Bolton could have deserved it too. I think Chris Jones, obviously. I think I was just trying to maybe, hey, Chris Jones gets it every week. Let's give it to someone else. But Willie did have a really impactful game. A lot of his tackles were run stuffs, were kind of at the line of scrimmage. So yeah, shout out Willie Gay. Shout out the linebackers.
Yep. And I didn't want to leave this without one cool third down play. I wrote about it this week. I believe this was the second third down of the game. The coverage doesn't really matter here. The Chiefs kind of play just a sticks coverage. It looks like quarters. That doesn't really matter for this. I thought the blitz design was really good though, and we'll kind of highlight it here. So kind of pre-snap, the Seahawks are in a 6-man protection. And with kind of these Carlos Dunlap and Chris Jones really, really wide, Chris Jones is almost in a 4-eye, and Nick Bolton kind of mugged in the A-gap. Seattle's going to have to slide 4 defensive linemen towards those 3 guys. And this running back here is responsible for Justin Reed. That is walked up on the backside. But the Chiefs, they send kind of a simulated pressure. Nick Bolton, Carlos Dunlap are dropping into coverage. Justin Reed and Brian Cook are both coming in the B gaps on a blitz. Justin Reed wins in his one-on-one pass rep. That was a good, rush move to kind of swim over him. But Brian Cook also gets a free run. This was just a well-called simulated pressure. I kind of like the blitz look. Geno's forced to scramble. The Chiefs do a good job of stopping it at the sticks. But overall, we talk a lot about the Chiefs doing a pretty good job of having a good kind of read on protections. I think that's what Spags is best at as a defensive coordinator. And I thought this play was a good kind of highlight of that, where the Chiefs took advantage of, maybe they knew what Seattle was going to do protection-wise, and I thought they made a good play on that.
Great breakdown, Caleb. Do you have any thoughts on the linebacker group? Kind of anything Nate touched on, and if not, take it away with your topic.
No, I agree with pretty much everything he said. I think that when you hold a guy like Kenneth Walker to 12 yards and a half and you put yourself up 2 or 3 possessions like the Chiefs did, you say, okay, you guys can run the ball. Because, he had 107 rushing, right? But if you're just burning clock and just running in the fourth quarter, the Chiefs are, okay, that's fine. We'll take that on you. Kill the clock. It's cold. Let's get out of here. But I think that the catalyst for all of the Chiefs' defensive success, and he's a guy who I thought this was one of Chris Jones' best games of his entire career in some aspects. And, is obviously one of his best games of the season. Some of the things he did went a little bit underrated, but this is what it looks like when you have a true defensive player of the year candidate. And especially when he's an interior defensive line pass rusher, this is what you are going to see from him week in, week out. This was a performance that he came out angry and he was beating people with his physicality, his quickness. And the one thing that Nate brought up that I thought was awesome, his alignment this week, the way the Chiefs shifted him from a 3 technique into the 4-eye seamlessly. I mean, it was awesome because when he gets into those situations where, and as we'll start out, and he is in a wide 3 tech here. He's on the left side at the 3 technique. He's right in front of Brian Cook. And look at this. The Chiefs got Nick Bolton walked up here. So one of the reasons why they were able to get him a lot of one-on-ones this week, and he wasn't doubled as much as he's been the last 2 weeks, is Spags was kind of showing his hands. Like Nate mentioned, some of the simulated pressures. But you see Seattle, they got 3 guys sliding to the right side, or no, to the left side. That would be their left. Because, you see Frank Clark, you see Dana, you see Bolton. Well, they got to, get ready for the blitz. And then you have one-on-one backside Dunlap on a rookie, and you've got Chris Jones on the right guard. And he really, he tore up Gabe Jackson pretty good. But you see right off the snap, you just see the quickness. I think it's the most underrated thing Chris Jones does. First step quickness, gets him with a swim, blows it. Look at this. How long does Geno have? He's got the ball. And now he's getting ready to have to move off of his spot. He's barely got even 1 second before he's scrambling and running. And now, Carlos Dunlap stays hot in pursuit also. And it's an incomplete pass way down the field. That was a 3rd down play very early in the game too. Just no momentum, nothing going. Great effort all the way around. And it was set up because they got Jones that one-on-one because Seattle was afraid that the Chiefs were going to blitz him. And I thought this was also a good game for Chris Jones and run defense. I thought that he played a key role in stuffing Walker several times in a wide 3 technique here. I wouldn't quite classify it a 4-eye because he is just on that guard a little bit, but he swats like the guard. The guard doesn't give much presence. And when Chris Jones is that wide, he's like pretty much he's just playing right in the B gap. He's literally just sitting in the B gap. He's not quite a 3 tech, not quite a 4-eye, but he's just positioning himself there. You got Derek Nottie playing your 1 tech on the other side, and everyone's going to do their job. The Chiefs even got McDuffie down in the box there for a rep, something I just picked up on. Interesting. But just looking at Jones, Charles Cross is going to be a really good left tackle in this league. That's a rookie. You're asking a rookie to go out here and block one of the 2 best defensive tackles in the game, who's already beat you just on his alignment alone. He's already beat, that B-gap alignment. He's already beat because Chris is just going to use that burst and that speed, and he smokes Walker there in the backfield. And let me tell you, that probably did not feel very good, as cold as it was out there. The Chiefs are all excited. They rally around to it. This is another play. This time he is lined up in a 4-eye, and he does, get in there, help make the tackle. And we'll take it back. And we'll see. That is a true 4-eye. He's on no part of the guard. They're running the zone to the left. The guard can't peel back or help or anything. He's got to keep pressing the play side. He's got that A gap. This is another rookie right tackle who he's going to have a hard task because, again, that 4-eye alignment, zone to the right, Jones has already got him beat in some aspects, especially as good an athlete as he is, because you start going, Jones is square at the line of scrimmage right away. The guard, that hand's doing nothing. And now Jones gets into it. He's reading the play. I think this was a pass rush. This might have been a pass rush down because you see they got DJ Dallas in there over Walker. But now Jones has created this separation. Abraham Lucas, he can't do anything. He's not blocking anyone. And you see, though, there's maybe like a little bit of where this guy's got some space in the opposite B gap. Noddy's doing a good job of handling the double team block. It kind of looks like Bolton's ready to play it whichever way he goes. But really, Chris is coming over. He's getting held here, and now he's going to be, he's going to be locked in. He's going to get the TFL. He had 2 tackles for loss on this game on run plays. And then, I thought the crazy thing was I got Chris with having 4 pressures in this game. No one really would have noticed because, pressures and TFLs in the run game are nice, but what gets guys paid and what gets people defensive player of the year, all pro Bowl selections is sacks, and here at the very end of the game to close the game out, he brought it all and he was rewarded for his game he played with his 12th sack of the season. And he was giving these guys fits all day. These Seahawks, he's a bad matchup for them. These guys are short. Their guards are shorter, stockier guys. They're built for more of like a power run game, play action type game. They're not used to having, a 6'6" guy of his size out there burning off the edge. Because you see the space right here. He's basically, what that was reminiscent of a tackle going against like a wide 5 or a wide 9 in some respects with how wide he is there. Because he's basically in a 4-eye, even though his alignment would be a 3-tech. The Chiefs have been pretty good about that. Sometimes it's gotten them beat in the past, but they like the matchup. He comes in. I mean, this guard's got his leg kicked up in the air. Jones has got the hand leverage one. He's got his hands inside, and as quick as he is and as much as he wins with finesse moves, he still has just that raw power, that raw bull rush that is just enough to knock a guy back. That's a terrible position to be in for the guard. He's getting ready to get blown back, and now Chris, he's got the inside. He's getting ready to win back across the face, and Gino's got nowhere to go. Gets him down for a sack. And, it's one of those things where he's been so dominant this season, but he's not going to get, the recognition he always necessarily deserves. And a lot of that has to do is the sack numbers. We've seen defensive ends like Nick Bosa before have these seasons where they go out and, it's not uncommon for you to see a defensive end with 16 plus sacks in the league. Yeah, it's a great individual feat, but we've seen it before. When you start getting into that number of sacks for a defensive tackle where they get 12 plus, that's a special season. That's a rare season. That's a season that we've seen Chris Jones replicate or have one time in his career. He's replicating that again. But other than that, you think about the history of the league, guys from the 3-technique defensive tackle position, you think of it's a very short list. Aaron Donald obviously on there. This is the kind of season that he's having. Obviously it all hasn't been, sunshine and roses for the defense. But when Chris Jones is on, he sets the tone for everyone else, and he's like the catalyst in a lot of ways for what they can do, just because he can be, this huge threat to any team's, passing offense, especially when he has the ability to wreck a game like that. I think that's been his best game since the Cowboys game last year.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, that Cowboys game, that is a vintage Chris Jones game, and this definitely felt like that. Now, let me ask you, though, Caleb, I do want to ask you this because we got this question on the Out of Structure podcast, and it's worth because I want both your guys' take on this. Was that the defensive front's best game of the year, or was that just Chris Jones such a dominant game that it made everyone else look a lot better? Because, when you look at the stats, Frank Clark didn't end up with any pressures. I think Karlaftis actually only had 2. He had the sack, obviously, which was a great play. But Caleb, I'll ask you first. I don't know. Do you see, was Chris Jones just that good that it just made everyone else look, a lot better, or was the whole group playing, a pretty good game?
I think it was because Chris Jones is awesome, and I'm not trying to take anything away from George Karlaftis, because in our Insta breakdown, I gave George Karlaftis my player of the game. Honestly, nice. I wish I had time to share that tape of Karlaftis' sack, but they have Chris Jones. Yeah. Chris Jones is bothering the tackle so much, or the tackle's so keyed in. Actually, I think I might. Do you guys care if I pull that up real quick just to try to make a point or prove? I'm not trying to prove a point. I'm not trying to take any away from Karlaftis, because 4.5 sacks in the last 5 games. That's incredible for
and he leads the NFL in batted down passes. Shout out Karlaftis. But you're right on this play that you're going to pull up. He definitely got some help. It was a good rep, though. It was a good rep.
A little bit impromptu. And Nate, chime in if you see anything. He's in that 4-eye again, really wide. They weren't really respecting, Seattle's, they didn't think Seattle was going to do anything in the A or the B gap. But watch 72. He's got a handout. Okay, that's how much that Jones has been bothering people with this alignment this year. Is you see, he is got his hand out, and it forces him to turn his hips, and he turns his hips. So now he's got his hips on the sideline. He's going to be slow to react. And good move by Karlaftis, but look again at what Chris is doing. Chris is moving this guy back, and now he's getting ready to win also. So it's a no-win situation. It looks like Frank was looping back around on the other end also. But either way you put it, Gino's getting sacked on this play. But I just thought this was an example of Chris Jones helping everyone else on the defense with his ability to crush the pocket and also just his presence in that wide alignment.
Nate, I will give you the chance because you highlighted some good things from the rest of the defensive line, but do you think it was all maybe just a production of Chris Jones as being an absolute dominant force?
Well, to answer like your first question, I do think it was their best game of the season overall, especially once you factor in what they did against the run. Karlaftis played his best game as a pro. I mean, you've seen the past few weeks, he's starting to get wins around the corner, which is something we don't really typically expect out of him. He had a nice rep going inside, like on a play action. It didn't materialize because Gino got the ball out in time. But yeah, Jones is great, and I thought that last clip was great. Abe Lucas, the right tackle, has his drag hand out, and when you have that, it's hard then to get back and kick back in a stance. Like, that's just hard to do. Right. And that's kind of like if you watch basketball, you talk about like gravity, like a great shooter. That's kind of what like a pass rusher can be at times, especially on the interior. It's like, Chris Jones has a lot of gravity on the interior, and it was good to kind of see guys take advantage of it because I don't think people have taken advantage of it the past 3 years, especially in the Spagnuolo era. So if they can do it now going to the playoffs, that just makes everything better. It makes Jones's job easier, and it makes the defensive ends jobs much easier as well.
Yeah, it was an encouraging sign just overall for the defense. I mean, the 4-man rush, there was a few reps where, it was just straight 4-man. I mean, that one you just showed was a great example. It was just 4 guys, no blitz help. And, I should have shouted out Dana too in that play. I think he did a really good job, doing the dirty work on it, but still actually collapsing the pocket even, while being just the dive guy on the stunt. But we're the Chiefs. We talk offense here. We're all about the offense, and that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Because for kind of a weird performance, not a great performance from the offense, not a super exciting performance. They definitely left the defense out to dry a little, just kind of like they have been in recent weeks. Honestly, unfortunately, it just seemed like the defense really stepped up this week and didn't allow it to snowball and turn into making it a close game. But I want to highlight the positives. We're positive here. I don't like being negative. We've been positive on this show so far. And the positive here on this play is Kadarius Tony being back in the lineup. And actually it's Tony and Mecole Hardman. And Mecole Hardman's not back in, but it's just the fact that one of those two running these jet sweeps, it really does help this team, their efficiency in the red zone. The red zone efficiency absolutely dropped off once Hardman was hurt, once Tony kind of got banged up. And it's because defenses don't have to necessarily respect the side-to-side, sideline-to-sideline action that the Chiefs can do with the great speed that Hardman has. But Tony has that speed too. But the cool thing about this play is it's not really the speed that makes this play so, work so well. It's actually the vision. And so, this is a really well-blocked play. First of all, it's just a typical jet sweep, to the tight end, the running backs to that side as well, leading. He's going to be on the edge at first. McKinnon actually, it's just a little wrinkle to him where he just gives such a pop. He's not just going to come up and just touch you. He's going to pop you, and it actually does it so well here that 51 kind of has to think about it enough, or kind of like have to okay, I have to absorb this hit. Well, he doesn't even see where the ball is until Tony's past him. He's still looking in the backfield when Tony is running past him. So I think that's credit to. I also think Mahomes, his play fakes always kind of helps too. In that peripheral, they kind of maybe see Mahomes as that play fake afterwards, like, oh shoot, it might be a throw. But I think McKinnon just kind of popping him here is one part of that. But that's just a little detail. But it's really here the blocks at the second level that really make this play. You got Noah Gray, Orlando Brown getting to those force players and just getting hands on them, right? And especially Brown here. Just wash them out. Just take them. Just take them with you. Just get them out of the play. Both of them, just take them out of the screen. And what I love about it, obviously, is the finishing play here. So you got Tony reading that right. He sees the wall. He sees the leverage that Brown and Gray have and cuts off it and uses it as a wall. But what I am really impressed with the vision is how he's able to see Trey Smith here. I think this is very easy for Tony right here to just to try to just go into the end zone straight from here, right? It's hey, I see the green, I'm gonna go for it, and he probably makes it, right? Like it's not like he's not gonna make it here. He probably puts his shoulder down, maybe this safety coming over, maybe gets in while Trey's trying to block him. But in his peripheral, he does see Trey, and he does see the leverage that he's going to have on this potential guy that's going to tackle him before the goal line. So what does he do? Just a quick little skirt, and he's back, and he's in the end zone. And it's just this vision and these cutbacks. McCole can do it to an extent, but I really think McCole's strength is just the speed part of it. I don't think it's necessarily the vision, the cutting through holes and stuff. That's where Tony is almost maybe even a better option for in the red zone specifically, because it is more just about weaving through these traffic lanes, right? When you're more out in the open field, when you're further away from the end zone and you're doing jet sweeps, sometimes you're getting the spread look where you get a block or two. McCole just gets a lane and he's taking off vertically and he's just trying to outrun everybody. But on a play like this, it's Tony reading the blocks. And just a really well-blocked play, too, obviously, as I pointed out. But got to love Trey just finishing this dude. And Tony allowing him to is the best part, right? And I guess I should have highlighted it more from the get-go. But Trey's just whole snap here is good. He starts out. He's off balance, right? You don't like that. But I feel like in years past, there's times where he falls right here. He doesn't recover. What I like about it is he stays. Look at his eyes as he's tumbling. His eyes are on the guy he needs to go to, right? He never loses eye contact with where he wants to go. And he just locks on and makes the play. And so I just think Trey continues to make big plays for this offense. Creed also, I should highlight, Creed also has a good seal of the backside linebacker here, not allowing him to be in on the play. Just a really well-blocked run, and just shout out Tony being back in the lineup, and Hardman. He's coming back, right? Hardman is still on the injured reserve, but he's on his way back. But another wrinkle here, we talk about, the underneath game. The jet sweeps are a big part of that. The other thing is just the Chiefs, Mahomes getting to check downs on time. Well, I think one cool thing about it is Andy Reid here is actually manufacturing kind of check downs to an extent, right? It's just him getting these linebackers in conflict. And I guess that was one thing I should have pointed out from the get-go. This was a theme of this game. It was really a vintage Andy taking advantage, kind of toying with linebackers. And maybe not just Andy, but Travis Kelce as well, as you'll see later. But this really was the Chiefs' offense. And that's what they do a lot, is just put linebackers in binds. And what you'll see here is this play action. It just makes a linebacker want to go to the play action, obviously, right? He has to flow to it. But then it's like, oh, shoot, it's a rollout right. So I gotta get depth, get back into space where the pass may go. Well, then he has to, again, turn and realize, oh, shoot, McKinnon's to the flat. And in this quarter shell, which the Seattle's running a quarter shell coverage, I'm going to be the only guy within a mile of McKinnon catching this in the flat. So it's just a really cool way to get, an easy check down. It looks like a check down, right? Actually, when I first saw it, I thought Mahomes was just recognizing, oh, cool. He's seeing how much space is going to be in the flat on the check down. He's just getting to it quickly. No, and you actually can see that it's a designed, play against the grain, because you can also see Kelce here. He's becoming that second option if McKinnon maybe if this linebacker catches on and this corner kind of sits on it, he can have Kelce coming back across the middle as well. But I just think these are the little wrinkles that are cool to see, and we're going to see in the playoffs. Just forcing, pushing coverages deep and just playing underneath it. And I still think Mahomes, as well as he does, or as well as he's done this year at doing that stuff, just getting to his checkdowns in rhythm, getting to passes underneath in rhythm, I feel like he still could be more disciplined in doing it more. And it's just cool to see Andy kind of manufacturing it for him, and it worked out here. But the main things I wanted to show as we get done with the show here is Travis Kelce being Travis Kelce. He is the guy. He came through in the clutch. He was my offensive player of the game. And these two plays here in the fourth quarter, back-to-back snaps, when the Chiefs needed a touchdown to kind of put this away. Again, I mentioned Andy Reid, the Chiefs offense, toying with linebackers, just messing with them. And Kelce is the master at that. He is the expert at that. He is the maestro at messing with linebackers in their coverage responsibilities. And it's just getting to the blind spots, right? It's just getting to a linebacker's blind spot, not allowing him to have a feel for what you're going to do once you're not in his vision anymore, in his peripheral. That's what I love about Kelce. He never gives away his route until he's past 56's peripheral, right? He he's stemming almost like he's going to go out to, kind of to first come out of this play a little bit, right? And then he comes back in. It's an easy crosser. And it's just obviously Kelce, obviously understanding too the window he's got to sit in, right? He can't just run across the field here. He's got to sit in that window. I love Kelce sometimes. I don't really see the need to pivot back against the grain right there and try to run across the field. He probably has a pretty good lane if he just, turns up field, the other way as well. But, that's Kelce. Kelce does his thing, and he makes up for it because the very next play, this is literally the next snap, Mahomes and the Chiefs pretty much run the exact same play. Not the exact same play. It's a different kind of play action look, but Kelce, what does he end up doing? Crosser over the middle, taking advantage of linebackers in their coverage, and gets a 52-yard gain to get him inside the 10. Again, getting to the linebacker's blind spot, gets upfield, actually stems out while he's in 57's vision, right? And then comes back in. That gets him the separation he needs there. But actually, if you keep an eye on 56, he's doing his best to kind of see what Kelce's doing, right? But he even gets fooled by Kelce stemming out at first. And when he comes over to kind of help maybe, he realizes, oh, shoot, Kelce's coming towards me, and I'm already outflanked and already out leveraged. We got a 52-yard gain. It's just, oh, man, it's just Kelce just being this Hall of Fame tight end, this master manipulator, understanding why, what linebackers are going to do in reaction to his movements, how they're going to react to him. And Mahomes obviously just delivering dimes on top of it. And this is the coolest part to me. I want to show you where Mahomes decides to release this, where Kelce is in relation to the linebacker. It's kind of hard to see up there, right? But you can see that, Kelce still has about 2-3 yards to go until he's clear in that linebacker's face, and Mahomes is already gearing up to throw. That's just the connection they have, and it's why they're one of the best duos to ever do it, and why Kelce is the GOAT tight end. He has proven it over and over. And it's why it's why we should all be confident in this team. Of all the little nitpicky things we talk about on this show, of all the little, things we get bugged about on this show, and we bring to you because we want to talk about all the flaws and everything of this team. This team is still, the most comfortable Super Bowl contender because they have Mahomes, because they have Travis Kelce, because they have Andy Reid. And because of what you guys talked about today, I don't know, we can feel pretty good about it, fellas. So, I'll end with this, Nate. We got 2 games to go. I don't think we either of us, or and none of us see them losing in either of those games. We don't know if they're going to get the 1 or 2 seed, but I don't know. You feeling pretty optimistic that the Chiefs, just like any other year, can maybe run through the AFC and get to the Super Bowl?
I am if the defense plays well, and obviously this Seattle, especially at Tyler Lockett, isn't Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. Like, we get that, but it's still like what I kind of wrote about this week is like the Chiefs defense will have struggles in the playoffs just because every team struggles versus great quarterbacks in the playoffs. But if they're confident in their assignments, if they're able to change up things enough, all you need is 2-3 stops. That's all we needed versus Buffalo week 6. That's all we needed versus Cincinnati 3-4 weeks ago. That's all you need. And that's, regardless of whether they do it or not, you can give up 24, 27 points, but it's those critical stops. And I think if the Chiefs are able to kind of continue this streak, a streak, I guess, or form a streak of like changing up their looks on defense, presenting different things to confuse quarterbacks, I think that's going to be critical. So, yeah, I mean, they're absolutely one of the contenders in the AFC. They have as good as a shot as anyone. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, even though I don't think this is the Chiefs' most talented roster of the past 5 years, I guarantee you Sean McDermott, Zach Taylor, those teams don't want to see the Chiefs in the playoffs.
No, sir, they do not. Caleb, do you agree with that? How are you just optimism-wise, with kind of what we've talked about today, even just going into the postseason?
I'm fairly optimistic headed into the postseason. I think this game was almost kind of like a dry run for the defense, or like a rehearsal game for the defense for maybe some things that we see moving forward, because I bet you they play it pretty vanilla against a couple of teams they should beat here in the next couple of weeks. Like we mentioned, though, that big Monday night matchup, that's going to prove a lot, because if they open the door for the Chiefs to have home field throughout and the bye, that's going to be, magnificent. But I think another important thing to remember about the playoffs, Chiefs are getting healthy at the right time. They don't have a key piece really anywhere on their team that you can say is out, especially with Mecole Hardman coming back. And I think having health in the playoffs is a major advantage, because how many teams you see every year and they end up, they go into the playoffs and they can't pull one out because they just lose the game. That Buffalo pass rush is scary. It's not as scary without Von Miller now. The Bengals offensive line isn't good, and the Chiefs have never done anything against them. But their tackle, Lael Collins, tore his ACL. Right tackle, Lael Collins, tore his ACL. That's going to be a pretty big loss for them, even though he hasn't been having the best season, just because this is just going to be another new body late in the season in there for them. So all these teams have weaknesses. I think that I am optimistic about the Chiefs, though, because I do think that there's another level of the Chiefs playbook they don't quite get into. I think that we're starting to see some of that a little bit. You're showing some of these plays that they're running, these reactionary type plays, stuff we haven't seen a lot of. I think we're going to see some of that stuff kind of sprinkled in here just so they can get some practice doing it in a live game situation. But, come playoff time, they might be opening up a lot of different things we haven't seen before.
It's true. No, it's true. No, it was a softball question. It was easy because we should all be optimistic. Chiefs Kingdom, you should be optimistic. This team, is kind of getting, into the right gear at the right time. It's a fun time. We're going to keep having fun breaking down the Chiefs for you on the YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, make sure you comment, let us know, what we're doing, what we're not doing, what you want to see, maybe, any suggestions. We appreciate it. But yeah, for Nate, for Caleb, I'm Ron. Appreciate you guys watching. Go Chiefs, and we will catch you next time.